welcome to the Monday evening.
Love ball like I do. After Dark, it's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
The Sweet 16 is set, and we are wasting no time on the Field of 68 After Dark on this Monday night, March 24th, 2025. I'm John Fanta. Terrence Oglesby's here. Randolph Childress is here. And how about the Michigan Wolverines, the 5 seed in the South? They will be in action against Auburn on Friday night in Atlanta, and we are pleased to be joined by their first-year head coach, Dusty May. Dusty, you were more on time for the show than Jeff Goodman ever has been. Good evening to you, my friend.
Well, I have one redeemable quality. I'm always early.
Well, we appreciate that. It's great to have you, Coach. You know, all the time when we talk with coaches, they always will tell us about a foundation team, their first year. You never forget the guys who were with you every year, but your first year at a job. How would you define this group and how fitting it's been to have them as your first year team at Michigan?
Yeah, John, that's a great question. You know, it made me think of the first team we had at FAU, and then obviously that seems like many moons ago. But this team, we have such unique personalities. You know, between the holdovers, the guys we brought in, and now when you factor in high school players, transfers and whatnot, it's just guys who come from all over the planet. They come from different places, and just to see them grow together and see the unique personalities just, you know, form a unit. It's been a lot of fun, but it's been challenging, and we've had some bumps in the road. But just to see who these guys have became together has been pretty cool.
Dusty, I saw you guys early in the year. You lost to my alma mater in Greensboro. This team seemed to have come a long way since then. What clicked for this team? I know it's early in the year. Where did you see your biggest improvement in your group?
Well, the only thing that remained constant from early that game till now is I think we built a big lead and blew it that game as well. We've done that. We played really, really well in spurts and haven't been able to sustain it. But at that time of the year, we still didn't know. You know, I think when we're playing and we're getting up and down and everything is just kind of working, it's easy to see what you can be. But when the game slows down, and then are you going to be a post-up team? Or are you going to be a ball screen team? And you're still trying to figure out what is going to be your identity. That's where we were at that point. And so I think that game was one that really, I think, expedited the process that, man, we need to figure out what we're going to be when it becomes a half court game in the last 2 minutes. So even though we didn't finish that one well, I think it at least pointed us in the right direction.
You know, Coach, when we talk about the NCAA tournament, we talk about matchups and what can make teams difficult to guard or difficult to prepare for. I feel like Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden change everything for you guys because you essentially have a 7-footer bringing the ball up and being your play creator, coming off ball screens. I've compared him to an Israeli Hito Turkoglu. Nobody's willing to jump on this bandwagon with me. Do you have a comparison? And like, how has it been special to coach a guy like him that has this unique talent and skill set?
Well, Terrence, I hate to go with the crowd, but I'm going to go with the crowd on this, and I don't see it at all.
Thank you, Coach.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach.
Maybe the hair texture. I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No. I can see that. But to be honest, so Danny, like I think of like the veteran Hito Turkoglu, where he was slow, kind of rumbling up the court. He became more of just a spot up shooter or whatnot. But I definitely, a playmaker with size. But Danny is more athletic than you would think. He has tremendous ball skills. I mean, his um, ability to put it on the floor and manipulate the defense and work off ball screens is really unique. We've actually spent a lot of time trying to get him to save his dribble and use his pivots a lot more to create an advantage, especially with smaller guys on him. But he's such a good rebounder. So he's able to get the rebound and he's able to lead the break. And once he advances, he's able to cut into the post. He can screen away or he can go right into a ball screen. So he's been able to initiate a lot of different things for us. And we've been able to use his skill set. I think maximize what he's brought to the team.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Coach. I'm pretty hurt right there. I was thinking, Hito Turkoglu and like Dwight Howard back in his Magic days when he could still move a little bit. But I'm just gonna throw my tongue over my shoulder and let John go to his next question because I'm gonna be hurting about this one for a long time. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Terrence, I wanted to agree with you, bad. I just couldn't see it.
It's all right, Coach. We tell the truth, Phil 68. We don't allow Phil 68. So don't spare his feelings on this.
No finessing. All right. Got it. Noted.
You know what I'm curious about, Dusty, when we talk about matchups, but hearing a lot of coaches say this past week, well, I'd feel great if maybe I had 5 or 6 days to prep for this team versus just a one-day turnaround. Every situation is different for every team. For your team, you have the quick prep for Texas A&M, a defense that ranks 8th in the country, and you score 91 points on them and have 17 assists, and you kept the turnovers down, something you've been talking about all year. So I guess, one, like, the fact that you got to see UC San Diego up close and personal, a team we talked about all year, what was that challenge like? And then how do you treat the quick turnaround that allowed your team to just come right back and score 91 against one of the best defensive teams I know, one you respect, in America?
Well, this time of year, we use a lot of reference points where we simply, especially on a quick turn, that we just played Michigan State and they did a really nice job on the offensive glass against us. And we weren't nearly physical enough when we weren't quick enough to the ball. And so we talked about how they were the version of them, except they did it at a higher level. But both teams, Texas A&M with the rebounding and then UCSD forcing turnovers, those two things have been our Achilles heel all year. When we haven't played well, it's because we either turned it over or didn't control the defensive glass. So I think it allowed us, though, to really focus on one thing each game. I think as a coach, sometimes we might focus on too much versus too little, and sometimes we might even be a little bit all over the board as we try to figure out who we're going to be. And so it basically narrowed our focus to, if we do this well, we can win this game. And then we flipped the page to Texas A&M. And it was as simple as, if we can rebound with these guys, we're going to have a chance. But we thought with our size, we thought with how quick we are to the ball on the perimeter, how quick we can be, we would have a shot. And then because we didn't turn it over, we were able to get out and transition. And then I think the turnovers, because we had focused on it so much going into UCSD, I think our guys, they understand how important it is. We try to play fast. We try to keep it moving. We try not to stop and let the defense get organized. So sometimes we've been a little bit sloppy, but I think we're capable of taking care of the ball. And if we do, we have another level we can still go to.
Dusty, I wanted to ask you about the roster construction in totality with this group, because you went away from what people, quote unquote, would say is a traditional point guard. Trey Donaldson shows up. He seems like a guy you're very comfortable putting the ball in his hands late games. You go with the 7-footer and Wolf when a time when everybody's playing small ball, stretch 4 or 5 out. His skill set says that, but he's still a 7-footer, and his strength isn't defending always on the perimeter. So when you put this roster together, I mean, what went into that, and what decisions did you decide to say, hey, the pieces fit? How did you think that come? How did you put that together?
Well, it was unique that we felt like if Vlad wasn't going to be in the NBA, then he was most certainly going to be with us. So, and he's a traditional center. So even that prevented us from even recruiting Terrace Reed, that was here on campus, who ended up being a really good player at UConn this year. And then when Danny's name came across my desk, we watched it. And to be honest, we thought he could move his feet. We thought he had some work to do in the weight room and with strength conditioning, but we thought he could move his feet and guard perimeter guys actually better than we thought he could guard Big Ten traditional centers that just wanted to muck it up down low. And then offensively, we simply thought that he could pick and pop, he could really dribble, and he had great court vision. And so we weren't going to be able to play him the same way out of delay and whatnot. We were going to play him at the four. And we thought that was the one area that he really needed to improve his game. He would have to be able to punish guards on switches if we were going to play that way. And so he's a guy that's motivated, he's focused, and when he puts his mind to something, he attacks it. So I think all summer he had in his mind that everyone told him he couldn't guard on the perimeter, but also he knew to play in the NBA that he had to be able to guard quicker players. So he took on the challenge and every day was focused on it and got a lot better. And then as far as offensively, he worked every day punishing guards in the post. And so we put him in a few pick and rolls, 4 or 5 ball screens, and he had really good vision playing over the top, and he could throw these unique wraparound passes. We call them armpit passes or whatever you call it. He just had a way to get it around the 2 defenders, and then Vlad is such a big target and he has huge hands. We thought at times, man, we're really on to something here if we can find some shooting around this and find ways to give these guys some space. And when you have 2 really talented players like that, and you have other guys around them that are skilled, it's not as difficult as I think some have made it to be.
Coach, you alluded to when you played Texas A&M, you're like, well, they're a lot like Michigan State. My knock on the Big Ten in recent years, and it's not a knock anymore, it's that there was a lot of slow half-court sets. And I think a lot of it was teams were trying to adjust to what Purdue was doing with Zach Edey because he was so dominant. Now it seems like there's a lot of different styles overtaking the Big Ten. And I think the Big Ten has benefited by getting a lot of different things. Wisconsin's playing faster. You have the super athletes over in Oregon, UCLA, their toughness, and in Michigan State's ability to attack the offensive glass. Big Ten this season seems like it's geared you well for tournament play. Am I thinking right with that? And how has that adjustment been for you coming to Michigan in year one, just getting ready for these different styles of play?
No, Terrence, you actually hit the nail on the head. We talked about it as a staff immediately after the Texas A&M game that with so many teams in our league and the West Coast teams joining us, and then we felt like we play a unique style. Like you said, Wisconsin played a really free-flowing, three-point heavy offense and played with great tempo this year. And it's a misconception that Michigan State doesn't play fast. They run the lanes faster than anyone in our league.
Sure.
But they stop and then they run sets. So even that's unique in their own regard. And then Purdue reinvented themselves this year, where last year it was post ups for Edey naturally, and then this year the Braden Smith Trey Kaufman rim pick and roll combination was as lethal as any in the country because Trey Kaufman rim could catch it in a short roll, or he could long roll and then duck you in and punish you because he was so strong and good around the rim. And then you had Mike Rhodes at Penn State that's pressing and switching and mucking it up a little bit like we do. So there are just so many different styles. Maryland's defense was, you didn't know if they were in man, they were in zone. It was almost like a continuous scrambling with fast guards who had great instincts. And then Reese down low is one of the most unique rim protectors because he can strip the ball. He's got great hands and he can block shots and he can go vertical. And then Derek Queen is another one that just has a great knack for blocking shots or finding the ball or just, being where he needs to be. So I think you have all those things going on and you got to prepare each night differently. When you get into the NCAA tournament, you don't know what you're going to see. So you need to have some, background information to prepare your guys for these things.
Dusty, I'm going to get you out of here with 2. Number 1, in your early analysis of the Auburn Tigers, what do you see?
It's incredible. Their shot-making ability, their perimeter guys, to the way they can shoot off the catch, off the bounce, with range, floaters. They've got it all. And then you factor in Janai Broom might be the most efficient low block scorer in the country. They've got a lot of weapons and they've got great role players that support their stars really, really well. And then on defense, they're active, they're aggressive. And if we don't take care of the basketball, it could be a long night, but fortunately for us, we do have good size and we have good perimeter depth and our wings have good size as well. So It's going to be a tough go, but we've really improved, and we feel good about I guess the temperature of our team right now.
Last but not least, you come at this tournament from different perspectives in that 2 short years ago, you're in the Final Four. And in that tournament, there were 5 double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16. This year, there's one, and its name is Arkansas, who you don't think of as a double-digit seed. I know you're consumed with your team and film study for Auburn, but Dusty, our world is crazy, as you well know. And today it's, NCAA Tournament, NIL, all this in the third. You faced a UC San Diego team that won 30 games. That was a close game. There's a lot of people in the outside world who are like, okay, Cinderella, she's dead. It'll never happen again. And it's like, the three of us, we don't believe that. You're a coach in this thing. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what would you say to people out there who are like, yeah, that's over?
I don't think Cinderella's dead. I think Cinderella is going to look a lot like UCSD did or does, where they're old. They come from maybe lower levels. They were overlooked, and I used to tell our guys at FAU when we'd play in non-Division One, and they'd have really good players. I'd say, guys, these guys are Division Two because there wasn't a Division One coach that saw them play or took a chance on them. They're Division One players. So I think that's what it's going to look like, where they don't come from maybe this network that we're in, or this high Division One even. I think they're going to come from different areas, but I think what it's done is you've taken all the best players from the lower leagues and you put them spread out through the Power 5 level, and now 1 through 18 in our league, 1 through 16 in this league. Everyone at the bottom is much better than the bottom used to be. And the teams at the bottom are there because maybe they had an injury, or they just didn't finish games as well as the teams at the top. But it's caused a lot more parity in our leagues. But without a doubt, there's going to be enough guys that are just maybe 2 inches shorter. Maybe they just don't look the part. But man, they can play ball, and they all find a way to come together and form something unique.
Who's that next Dusty May that's able to do that? I mean, because I text you even with your Final Four group. In the following year, obviously, there was so much expectations. But I text you and I said, it's special. It says more about you that you were able to keep those guys at that level. And that's part of the reason why I say that the Cinderella isn't dead, because those guys turned down a lot of money to stay with you. And we see the success of where they are now, with John L. being in Arkansas, Elijah Martin being down in Florida, and those teams still develop, but obviously Vlad Golden is still with you. So who's the next Dusty May coming from a lower level that you can think of right on top of your head?
Well, you saw Ben McCollum move up from Drake into our league. They're a prime example. Those guys came from Division Two, and Bennett Sturts gets a lot of credit, but man, Mascari, he was going to be an accountant. Man, that guy's shooting from the parking lot, like guarding guys and step back threes and scoops. So I don't think we could say right now who they are, because if we knew, then they'd be gone. Then they would already be scooped up from someone else. But I do think it's out there. But also, I think last year, after the Final Four year helped prepare that group. You look at the success of Elijah, Nelly, and Vlad, and then Nick Boyd and Trey Carroll at FAU, and Brendan Lorien at North Texas. The list goes. Giancarlo Rosado at Charlotte. All those guys had enormous success, and part of it was the way they practiced and competed, and iron really sharpened iron. But also last year, I think, prepared them like it did for me as a coach. I felt like we became almost a high major team for 1 year, where we had a lot of the high major problems at a smaller scale. And I think it prepared all of us for what we were going to be in this situation, because it is different. It's not better. It's not worse when it comes to teamwork, but it is different because of an assortment of reasons.
Michigan, Auburn, Friday, 9:39 Eastern time on CBS from Atlanta. That Izzo guy apparently always gets the early game because he's going to hit the hay, I guess, around 10 o'clock. So no, Dusty, thank you very much for taking the time. Thanks for staying up late with us, and congratulations.
Thanks, guys. John, we got to get some Big Ten guys on here, man. All these ACC guys.
I'll get on that.
We dove in this year, Coach. We dove in. Appreciate you. Good luck. Thank you so much.
Always, yeah. Thanks, guys.
Good to see you. That's Dusty May. I'll tell you what.
He
For
doesn't
him to
like
come
Hito
in-
Turkoglu.
He didn't like that at all. I mean,
It was the truth. It was the truth. Let's just call it what it is. T.O. was the only one. T.O. trying to die on that sword. None of us thought that. Even our chat
Hey,
blew up
hold
when
on.
T.O.
I'm talking blonde streaks in the hair, baggy shorts,
Oh,
Hito
my
back in
God.
2003.
No.
Who's handling the rock and it's starting the break at 6'10". You guys are sleeping on Hito. You guys are sleeping on my man. Anyway, that was fantastic, by the way. Thanks to Dusty for doing that, man. That's big time.
Live shows up at 10:55. It's got to be the first coach to show up 5 minutes before we even hit the air. Well, Terrence, the Michigan fans are watching now. So make the case for why Michigan can give Auburn problems on Friday night.
Because they're so unorthodox. And Coach alluded to it, like his ability to use Danny Wolf and pick and rolls, to have skilled guys on the perimeter that can knock down shots. Like you have Trey Donaldson, who's actually shot the ball decent this year. You have Namari Burnett, who can shoot the basketball. You surround really talented players with skilled guys who can space the floor, and you're going to have some good results. Here's the deal, though. The up and down, the point swings, those are if you're going to play a certain way and you're going to try to play fast and get up and down a little bit, sometimes you're going to have those massive point swings. You're going to have times and periods of the game where it's not going to look so good. But because that skill outlasts others, it puts them in a good position. For them to get 91 on Texas A&M, that's a hard-nosed bunch. So that says a lot about them. Roddy Gale went berserk that game. So I think Michigan could pull the upset because they're so unorthodox in how they attack you from the 4 and 5 spots.
They have a unique ability to make Janai Broome guard.
Yes.
They can put him. They're going to be able to either if he plays Vlad Golden, they're going to throw the ball inside the Golden. If he guards Wolf, then he's going to be involved in ball screens and guards actions and forcing him to guard the perimeter guys. So it'll be interesting to see how they guard him, because Caldwell he's the better defender of the two. There's no doubt about it. He guards everyone on the floor. But I think they're going to exploit that matchup and not let Janai Broome kind of save his energy for the offensive end of the floor. He's going to be heavily involved in having the guard on the defensive end of the floor in that matchup.
All right, let's take a break. After this, we're going to dive into the Sweet 16. I'm going to ask the fellas their biggest takeaway from the opening weekend of the tournament and their favorite game of the second weekend. Plus, we'll get some super early predictions. We'll even get a Final Four reset, and we'll hit the coaching carousel. Hires made at Texas, at Iowa, at Minnesota, and even a colleague of ours from yesteryear heading to play some dice and coach some basketball again. This is After Dark.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today.
People have opinions about me, strong ones. Some compare my brand to the competition and call me a copycat. Some say that I'm just watered down, that I fall flat. I've heard it all. But the people who get me, they say I'm different, subtle, but balanced. Nothing to hide, nothing artificial. And once they give me a chance, they keep coming back for more. For more dad water. That's right, I'm talking about dad water, and I swear by it. No bubbles, no fizz, just a smooth, refreshing canned cocktail made with real tequila. 100 calories, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, and gluten-free. Find Dad Water's 4 flavors in an 8-pack variety pack or single flavor 6-packs. Dad Water invites you to enjoy its great lineup of products all tournament long. Take it from me, Jeff Goodman. Sometimes the most polarizing things are the best things. Dab Water, tequila, water, natural flavors.
Welcome back to Field 68 After Dark. John Fanta, Terrence Oglesby, Randolph Childress with you on a Monday night. It's the reset here. I love this, the front end of the week, and then it comes quick. I mean, the Sweet 16 we got 3 nights here, and then we get rolling into this. And Randolph, I thought Dusty May summed it up. Like, we get into overreactions, but I shared this earlier on the DTF podcast today. In 2015 and 16, so like basically a decade ago, we had all high majors, and the one non-high major was Gonzaga in the Sweet 16. It's not as if we haven't seen a year or two where the heavyweights rule, and we could go down a long grapevine of NIL and all that. And I think that obviously plays a part. But the point, RC, I mean, I'm looking at this schedule for the Sweet 16. I can't wait. This is going to be heavyweight showdown after heavyweight showdown. One, what's your takeaway on where we're at in March Madness right now?
I wasn't surprised, right? I thought the top heavy teams, and we said this here on the show, we said, hey, the national champion will probably come out of the top 2 seed depending on health. And 2 teams we had in that was Texas Tech and Iowa State. They ended up being 3, and they're still in it. I'm not subscribing to the Cinderella's over and all the overreaction to that, because had Colorado State, if the referees had blown a whistle and called a travel to one play, they're one play away from being in the Sweet 16. That's going to happen again. This year was just a little different because the teams at the top of the league were so good. The number 1 seeds were so good, and a couple of the number 2 seeds that we felt were just surprise teams, really good teams. So I'm not subscribing to that. We're close enough. Everybody just wants the Cinderella. They want some St. Peter's to make an Elite 8 run. Those will happen. We just talked to Dusty May. And we know Dusty May because of the run he made at FAU. So those things will continue. I just think it's just a Monday morning quarterback. Everybody's kind of overreacting because of this year. But we've known this year was going to be this way back in December.
I do think it's going to be much more difficult because you can't hang on to him. Like a guy that you're going to build your team around after his freshman and sophomore year, he averages 12 his freshman year, decides to hang around because he likes you, and then he's going to average 15 points a game his sophomore year and 4 assists, and that dude's gone. I do think it's going to be much more difficult. But I loved his point about, hey, it's going to be these D2 guys like the Drakes of the world. Like that's what Cinderella is going to look like. Like, how can you win games at the lower levels of college basketball when you get into the tournament? You have guys that have been there, done that before at maybe a lower level, and you've seen the influence of Division II basketball start to trickle its way up, right? Because
but the reverse of that, T.O., is going to be where I think the Cinderellas are going to come from. Because we all know there's guys on the high major benches that doesn't play for whatever reason. It could be an injury. There's a ton of guys that have been injured and they're fighting and to get their eligibility back or whatever it is. Those are going to be the guys that's going to go down. I use an example of like Bryant. You take Bryant, and we said this on the show. We were like, hey, if they got a matchup other than Michigan State, I wasn't surprised when the game was close because they started with Earl Timberlake at point. It was 6'6", 6'6", 6'8", 6'8", 6'11". That's their starting lineup. They're like the 5th or 6th tallest team in Division I. Now, their style of play hurt them because of that. But that's a team that I'd say this, had they not played the Michigan State that just had depth and wore them down, I said this even to Phil in calling their American East Championship game. I said, if you guys can get maybe even to a 3 seed, and get anywhere off that 2 line, because we felt it was going to be Tennessee or someone like that, teams, and I thought they would give them trouble. So that's what I just think it's the other way around. Their best players will go up, but so many of those high major guys that aren't playing every year, they're going down, and they'll get opportunities. And the coaches that can get them in school and get those guys, I think they're always going to get into March and be dangerous. Look at McNeese State and what they did. There's always going to be jobs where coaches can get high major guys and win.
Well, to your point, it was the older guys, right? Whether it's Division II guys or what, they're going to look older. So you look at Earl Timberlake. He's now been at Bryant for 3 years after 1 year at Miami, 1 year at Memphis, back to Bryant. Like, then you look at Ja'Kai Newton, Penzone even, who just couldn't get going at St. John's. It's still true. Like, you're still going to be able to get those best Division II players. There's 2 players that played at Lincoln Memorial this year that might end up on SEC rosters. Like, so I think you're going to be able to see some of these talented guys that were looked over because a lot of these middling teams in some of these Power Four leagues, they're going strictly portal. So these guys are going Division II for a couple of seasons. Wes Ennis, perfect example. Keep an eye out for him. Point guard, played at Lincoln Memorial last year. He might end up on an SEC roster. You don't know. So I think you're going to see it's going to be an older group of players that go up from the Division II level, or it's going to be something like Bryant, who guys just could never really get going and they're happy where they're at. And the same is true for McNeese, a bunch of older dudes that had already been at a certain level. They come down to Louisiana and they're like, well, it's going to work. I think that's what it's going to look like. Just older players, Division II sometimes, and then sometimes guys that transfer down. I think it can go both ways. One with Drake, another with Bryant, but it's going to be the common denominator is going to be these older physical players.
All right, let's look at this bracket here. Terrence Oglesby, your favorite storyline in this tournament right now?
Man, one of the favorite, we talked about it earlier today, John, but Cinderella, she tripped on the way up the steps to this first weekend. And here's the thing. What do you want at the NCAA tournament? We all love 4 or 5 upsets. That's all well and good during that first couple of days. That's what we want. A couple of upsets. What do we want in the second weekend? We want the big dogs to go against big dogs. That's how I feel. I like it when Houston's playing Purdue. I like it when you have Florida and Maryland. I like it when it's Kentucky, Tennessee in the Sweet 16. Let the big dogs eat. We're not going to have any 20-point games there in that second. At least I hope not. But I just love the matchups this tournament has created for the second weekend. And I'll be honest, guys, I thought the first weekend, I think flop is a strong word. But we were used to the Oaklands hitting a buzzer beater over Kentucky to win. We're used to St. Peter's doing all this. I thought it was a flop. I thought there's a lot of good basketball, but pretty chalky, pretty fun, but pretty chalky. I think this second weekend is going to be a lot of fun.
Well, then let's talk about what was not chalky to you.
Okay.
And let's talk Randolph Childress. Let's give John Calipari his flowers.
Give him his flowers.
Because the Arkansas Razorbacks were 0-5 in the SEC, 11-7 overall. Everybody and their mother was burying them. People in Lexington were laughing. Cal comes out the tunnel at Rupp. RC, that night changed everything. Let's go down to the West, Randolph. What do you make of Cal making the Sweet 16, and how surprised are you?
If not for Maryland making the Hail Mary, the shot at the end of the game and winning a buzzer beater, there's some interesting matchups, and we got all the number ones. But Cal being in right now, Arkansas getting just where they are has to be the surprise team. This team was left for dead when Boogie Flan got hurt. Myself included, I'm in the front of this. I thought they were in trouble because of what he meant to that team. I didn't see this group turning it around the way they did. I thought it was over. We all did. And Kyle said it best. You buried us and you forgot to put the nail in the coffin. And we all did that. But to see what this team did and how they responded, man, credit to him, credit to them. You just got to give Kyle his flowers, and to do it the first year coming out of, and with all the success and all the flowers we're giving to Mark Pope at Kentucky, Cal just reminding you guys, like, I'm still him, like I'm still that guy, and he always does it with a flair and a swag, and he's just letting you know I still got it, I still got my fastball.
Man, I mean, it's fascinating, T.O., to see this man who a year ago loses to Jack Golke in the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, then has an awkward sit-down with Mitch Barnhart in which they say, we're friends. Everything's fine. It wasn't fine. He gets up, he takes the Tyson chicken money, he goes down to Arkansas. We're all like, well, yeah, but are we actually going to see change? He said the other night, I'm not changing. I'm 66. I'm in the Sweet 16. And to do it against Rick Pitino and that St. John's team that was 31-4 heading into the game. Now I ask you, can this magical run continue against Texas Tech?
I think it's going to be hard. But I also want to think back a little bit to the two games they had. Thank you, Calipari, for putting Kansas and their fans out of this misery that they've been in since what, January? Kansas
Since the
fans have had
season
a hard
started.
year. Huh?
Since the
Hard
season
2 years.
started.
I mean, a hard 2 years. And thank you for doing that. You did. Kansas fans should send Cal a thank you card for ending this nonsense. That's number one. Number two, I thought the matchup with Patino was kind of perfect, to be honest with you. And I talked about this earlier today with Fanta and Doster Randolph, but Patino wants to take you out of offense. Calipari just wants to go, and
He just wanted to play anyway. It was a
yeah,
perfect
he just
fit.
wants to play anyway.
He just
I
wanted us
thought.
to do-
I thought it played right into his hands. Like Arkansas's defense or St. John's defense, willing to spread out, take care of the passing lanes, willing to get up and pressure the ball. What does that do to DJ Wagner? That dude can get downhill now. He's got his flaws, but he can get downhill. Boogie Flan, same thing. He can get downhill. And I think we forgot how athletic and big Arkansas's front court was. I think that's been something that people have kind of just let go by the wayside. But like they're big, they're athletic, and I think it really played into their hands. He's right. He shouldn't change if it's still going to work. Here's my question against Tech, because McCaslin does things a little different. He's going to scout it a little different. It's going to be a different style of play. I think Texas Tech wins that game, but it's not because of a lack of talent at Arkansas. I do think that they're going to close up the lane a little bit more and eliminate some of these abilities to catch off to get a catch off the pass and just go. Because if you're willing to get into the lane and collapse the defense, you can make some things happen. If they're already collapsed before the play even starts, it's going to be a little bit different. So I think Texas Tech wins this game coming up in a week or so to prepare for Grant McCaslin. Are you kidding me? It's going to be interesting. I think Cal has done a fantastic job. And what he did after losing their first 5 games in SEC play, to be able to galvanize his troops and get those guys playing hard and playing for him, says a lot about the kind of relationships he has with his players. I think it's huge. But I also think, he ran into 2 teams that fit his style of play perfectly, which that's what the NCAA tournament's about anyway. How is that going to carry over into week 2 when you're playing a Texas Tech team that's going to operate in a different manner defensively? That really intrigues me.
I give them credit, though. I thought they matched. I thought they
Absolutely.
played with a level of physicality and toughness that you questioned in Arkansas. You questioned that about them, and they met St. John and was like, we're going to meet you at your level of physicality. You're not going to punk us. You're not going to be the tougher team. And they won. And you got to give them a ton of credit for that. So I think it was great just for Kyle because of all of what he couldn't do. Not being able to get past the first round. All you kept hearing about was it was time and it was his reason for going. I thought he put a ton of pressure on Mark Pope in Kentucky to get to the Sweet 16, them having won earlier in the day. Is how I felt about the game. I thought it would have been, if Kentucky had not won that game and Kyle had the stage in the Sweet 16 to himself and Kentucky was at home, oh my God. It just would have gave him like the ultimate moment in that aspect. But I do think their season comes to an end against Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech moves on.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
Cal's done a great job without going too far. Like, I think Cal's done a great job too. Just managing
He has
that
done.
team.
No question.
Yeah, no question.
And to your guys' point, more than any other team that St. John's had faced, Arkansas spread St. John's defense out to a degree that they forced one-on-one coverage, and St. John's had trouble with the speed of those guards. And Arkansas got dribble penetration in that game. They made as many threes as the Johnnies did, 2. The difference was R.J. Lewis went 3 for 17. He was bothered by the length from Arkansas's defense, and Kadari Richmond fouled out. That's the game. And you credit Billy Richmond for having the best performance of his college career. He's this versatile Swiss Army knife type who John Calipari said he always plays hard. And you're right. Like, even though Jonas Adu and Zvonimir Ivisic were in foul trouble, their length caused problems, and it didn't allow Zuby Ejiofor to fully settle in. Let's go to the East. Randolph Childress. Think about this. 4 of the top 13 KenPom offenses are in this region. This is going to be an electric factory, RC. But the question is, as Caleb Love faces Duke one final time, can anybody beat Duke?
First, you got to go to that BYU and Bama game. I think it's the first one to 100. It's that would be that would be must watch TV. That would be a hell of an offensive game. I mean,
Yes.
both of those teams. Uh, Duke has beaten Arizona early in the year in Arizona. I know that doesn't mean anything now. I think Duke is coming out of this region, but I think the best game of those two, it's BYU and Bama. I mean, this will look like an old NBA game. It could be 132, 130 at the end of this one. I'm looking forward to that. But no, I listen. Caleb Love played an amazing game. Put that team on his back. Came down early. Felt falling down about 15 early against Oregon. But I think beating the Blue Devils is going to be tough.
Yeah, I think they're too big, they're too physical, and they're too good defensively. What Duke is, and the fact that they won double figures earlier this season at their place, and it's going to be up there near you, Fanta, right? Like that might as well be Duke North up there sometimes. So I think Duke's defensive pressure. I think Sion James is one of the most underrated off-ball defenders in all of college basketball. He's that good at it. And they just have so many guys that they can just throw at you with size that, it's completely plausible that, if Caleb Love gets going, you could throw 4 different defenders at him at a given time. And they all kind of bring a different type of flavor to their matchup. Like you could throw Cooper at him, who's got a lot of length, really athletic. You could put Sion on him, who's a beast and strong as an ox. Tyrese Proctor, who might be a little smaller, a little quicker. And all of them that I just mentioned are 6'5" or up. So it's like, I think the Duke matchup is really tough on Arizona. And I think Duke's going to come out of this region. But I agree with RC. Like BYU, Alabama might be the best game of the tournament. It could end up being 102, 101, something like that in regulation. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of talent on both sides. I did a radio hit earlier, and they're like, well, we felt like Alabama's gotten lucky with some of their matchups. I was like, gotten lucky? Man, I don't know about that one. BYU is tough. They've got real NBA talent, and they've got old dudes on top of that. So this is going to be a really, really fun game.
T.O., I'll say this about Duke. I think, as you mentioned, the positional size. Defensively, their versatility is good. They can put, arguably in every game they've played, and they play, 4 of the 5 best defenders can be on Duke's team.
Yeah.
With the lineup that they're capable of putting out there at times. And that's not including, I thought when Malik Brown was there, it gave them the versatility to switch 5 and have arguably the 5 best defenders on the floor. I think they can put 3 or 4 guys out there that can really lock you down. And I think collectively, they're the best shooting team in the tournament. I think other players, other teams have guys. I just think collectively, the amount of guys that they have from Knipple and just Elijah Evans. I mean, not Elijah, but Evans. Just so
Isaiah
many
Evans.
different Isaiah Evans. So many different guys on their group that can just knock down shots and spread you out. I just think collectively, there's just too many guys. They're not relying on. All right, it's got to be Cooper, got to be the one guy knocking down shots. We talked about Proctor. We saw what he just did in the level. He's been shooting the lights out all year, over 40% from 3. So they're using their bench now. The injuries allowed those guys with Gamba being able to play, and it's just I just think they're going to have too many weapons on the offensive end of the floor with that defense.
You know what's interesting? Tommy Lloyd said with his Arizona team last night, we thrive in chaos. And sometimes I don't know exactly where it's going to go. But when I have Caleb Love and Jaden Bradley, and oh, by the way, I've got Tobe Awaka on the offensive glass, Awaka versus Kama Malawach is going to be physicality personified. But I do think, Terrence, I like Duke to win this game. But the Blue Devils are 270th in the country in tempo. And yet they have the nation's #1 offense. That's because they just methodically beat you down. Arizona is top 50. They're going to want this. They want to run up and down and try to speed Duke up. That, to me, T.O., is just – it's an interesting game, especially when you consider the fact that the last time Caleb Love met Duke in the NCAA tournament, he went for nearly 30 points and ended Mike Krzyzewski's career.
Right. Yep.
Just a different
And
defense, though.
Caleb Love can have that type of game. That's the scary part about it. I saw somebody put out a tweet that Caleb Love splits in his wins against Duke and his losses against Duke. And like they're substantial, like 20 percentage points difference in every category. He's good. He's the key to everything for them.
Different defense. 8 points in the
Different
first
defense.
meeting. Duke shuts you down offensively with the way that they guard, and that's just it. They're first in offense, RC. They're fourth in defense, and we often lead with their defense. That shows you how much of a wagon they are because they protect the rim and they never stop extending. To the Midwest. Well, Houston and Purdue. Now, back in 2003, Kelvin Sampson was the head coach at Oklahoma with the number 1 seed. He met Syracuse in Albany. Syracuse was a 3 seed, and the Orange took down the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, 22 years later, Kelvin has to be saying, basketball gods, what are you doing to me? He's the number 1 seed, and he's facing Purdue at Lucas Oil Stadium. It won't be set up like the Final Four setup, but they are using the end zone for the basketball court, and it'll be a Purdue-heavy crowd. But the bottom half, Terrence Oglesby, is fascinating. Tennessee and Kentucky in year 1 at the helm. Mark Pope has gone to the Sweet 16. Kentucky swept the regular season series. What say you?
I think it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, especially a team who's willing to defend the way that Tennessee defends. Now, they're going to have to hit shots, and it's not something they've necessarily specialized in, but their defense is going to have to carry them. They're going to have to shut down all these zoom actions and a million different plays that Mark Pope likes to run. I like Tennessee. I have Tennessee winning this game. And I'll be honest, I think Braden Smith's in for a tough night against Houston. I think it's going to be tough for him because, Houston's guards are so stinking physical. Braden Smith is elite, electric, awesome. All of those great adjectives, sure. But I do think that, Houston's being so physical could make it difficult for him. I think Tennessee wins. Tough to beat a team 3 times in a row. Rocky Top and Houston.
I think, excuse me, a tough matchup for Purdue. Trey Kaufman-Renn will get doubled in the post. They're going to take him out of it, and they're going to blitz every ball screen. It's going to be far. You're going to have to. You're asking for a lot in that match. It's a tough matchup for Purdue. Matt Painter, and I've said this. I thought this team would struggle a lot more during the year than they did. Matt Painter's the real deal. We know it. I didn't see Trey Kaufman-Renn having the season that he had this year. But he'll get doubled in the post. They'll trap him out, take him out of the game. The pressure, constantly, the physicality. I think it'll overwhelm them. The other side, I think this is a tough matchup. I have Tennessee moving on, but I feel part of the reason they've beaten them twice is with Williams' ability to play on the perimeter. They elevate the bigs of Tennessee, spread them out. They put them with 5 guys on the perimeter. Which I think has Gainey, Lanier struggled a little bit making shots against those guys at times because they have to defend so many of those actions. They'll defend, but Kentucky's style and their offense, it gives them trouble. And can they beat them again? This Kentucky team is limping across the finish line. Lamar Butler's gutting it out playing, but we've already talked about with Kirk Carissa and Jackson Robinson, those injuries have got to catch up to Kentucky at some point. But obviously these teams are familiar with each other, but for a Tennessee team that would love to keep the pace slower than what Kentucky wants to do, they're going to get up and down and get up shots. This is a tough matchup for Tennessee and the style they want to play.
So RC, who's your updated Final Four?
I think it's I think all the number 1 seeds advance. I do. I want to take Tennessee, but I just think it's Houston's. I think Houston's this their year coming out, and I just think it's all the number 1 seeds. If I had to pick an upset of that group, then it would be maybe toward Michigan State, maybe Auburn, or maybe Tennessee. But I feel Florida and Duke are ultimately on a collision course.
I'm staying where I was at since the beginning. I'm going Michigan State, Duke, Tennessee, and Florida. Just because that's who I picked to start out with.
You just stand to your bet. Now, let me ask you this: if you go, because Fanta's going to change it. Make no mistake, he's put out 100 brackets, so Fanta's going to change. If you had to make a change off what you've seen right now, who you got, T.O.?
Is it destiny time at Maryland? I don't know. Like I that's just kind of how I feel. If I had to change, I'd probably go all 4 ones. To be honest, I
Yeah.
think Auburn could do it too. That would be my change, to go to all 4 ones.
I feel.
Wow. It's just that the top of the country has been so dominant this year, and it's
Yeah.
hard to go against them. However, Florida looked like they had lost a step and could have easily lost that game on Sunday against UConn. Now they didn't, and it's the tournament. It's about survive and advance. But the way that Connecticut dug in defensively, if Maryland can bring that defensive edge, and Derek Queen and Julian Reese can own that front court matchup, and I know it's a lot of ifs, and Selden Miguel and Rodney Rice can knock down enough threes, that can negate what Walter Clayton and Elijah Martin do. I think Florida wins, but do not sleep on the Crab 5 here. I actually think, so I had Michigan State, Florida, Duke, and Houston. If I could pick one team to crash the party here, it's Texas Tech. Because of how long they are, how good defensively they are, and they have 2 players that went on their best day, each of them combined 50 points, and that's JT Toppin and Darion Williams. See, we got a break. Up next, to the coaching carousel, where a move is made in Austin, and now in Cincinnati at a big job. They're looking for another leader. This is After Dark.
College basketball fans, are you ready to take your hoops game to a new level? Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just trying to win your March Madness office pool, Rhythm is here to give you the edge this season. With data-driven predictions for every single college basketball game left on the schedule, Rhythm helps you maximize your bets. And as March Madness kicks off, Rhythm's insights will help you spot those plucky Cinderellas that you know are going to shake up the NCAA tournament. But that's not all. When Selection Sunday rolls around, let Rhythm's AI-powered bracket generator do the heavy lifting for you. This is the same AI tool that performed 35% better than the average ESPN bracket last year. And here's the best part. Rhythm pairs perfectly with our Field of 68 expert analysis, giving you the 1-2 punch that you need for the rest of the college basketball season. So don't wait. Download Rhythm today and get ready to see college basketball and your betting results in a whole new light. Were you one of the people that thought that Wisconsin was going to beat BYU, that St. John's was going to get past Arkansas? If you lost in the first weekend of our $40,000 Survivor contest, I have good news. We are hosting a $15 to enter second chance Sweet 16 Survivor. There is more than $30,000 up top if all 2,200 spots filled. With their slick mobile app and user-friendly website, Splash Sports is the home of Survivor. So sign up and prove that once again, you know more ball than the Field of 68.
Welcome back to the Field of 68. After Dark, John Fanta, Randolph Childress, and Terrence Oglesby. Let's go to the coaching carousel, where the Texas Longhorns, 2 years after they lifted the interim tag from Rodney Terry and gave him the full-time head coaching job, they fire Rodney Terry on Sunday, and they hire Sean Miller. The 56-year-old, he's won over 70% of the games he's coached in, 13 NCAA tournament appearances, and you're talking about 4 trips to the Elite Eight, 487 wins to 196 losses. Terrence Oglesby, Sean Miller out at Xavier after 3 years, after Xavier did give him a shot back in college basketball, but now heading to the Longhorns. Chris Del Conte wanted him before. Now he gets them. Your thoughts?
He got his guy. That's who he wanted the entire time. I actually thought Rodney Terry, would he go to a tournament all 3 years or both years and made an Elite Eight? It's like, my God, guys, like, what do we want here? They won a national championship, and they didn't feel like Rodney was the guy. I thought Rodney getting to the tournament in the SEC this year was huge. I thought it was huge. I thought it was tough. It was hard, but they just didn't feel as if he was a national championship caliber guy. Those are Texas's goals, and I think they believe that Sean Miller is. So how do I like the fit? He kind of fits what it's about down there, right? Slick hair, nice jackets, guy can coach, and we know that. Rodney Terry had a lot of those same qualities. Dressed well, talked a great game. We'll see how that goes. So I think Rodney lands on his feet somewhere. I think he deserves another opportunity. I thought he did a pretty good job. I do think it's going to be interesting to see how this develops, because there's a lot of money being thrown around the SEC, and that obviously gives Sean a different type of opportunity to work with there at the Moody Center. So I'm excited for Sean. I'm a little bummed for Rodney.
Listen, we all work with Sean here, and this isn't an indictment on Sean. Congratulations to Sean and what he's done. And congratulations to Will Wade as well. But for me, what this says to me is what happened with their assistant coaches and what from the fallout from the FBI situations is what I think about. And I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, and I only say it just from the Book Richardson just recently got a high school job. And I that's what I think of now. If we can forgive these guys, rightfully so, and they're deserving of this opportunity. I'm only saying for those assistant coaches that were humiliated nationally and are not in the business should be back in this business and allowed to prosper, no different than these guys have been, and given the opportunity to rehabilitate themselves the way Sean Miller and Will Wade have. And like I said, know these guys. We've covered these guys. It's not an indictment on them, so I really don't want to hear any shit about, talking about this now. But the only thing I'll add is for Texas, I hope they win a national championship, because they're just throwing money around and throwing money at the problem. And Sean's a hell of a coach. He'll figure things out there. But getting to the tournament is obviously not enough in Texas, and we know that. So good luck to Sean.
The clear frontrunner to take over at Xavier right now is Chris Mack, who was at Xavier 2009 to 18. He was the head coach of Charleston this past year after taking some time off with us. We'll see if that comes into place. There is interest from both sides. Just breaking the last 2 hours, UNLV has hired Josh Pastner. Randolph, Josh Pastner is back, the former head coach of Georgia Tech and Memphis. Your reaction to this news?
Congratulations to him. I was with him the last 4 days. We were in studio together at Turner. He said he was in for this job. He really wanted this job. So I wasn't surprised when I saw his name come across. Congrats to him. I think he'll do a pretty good job. I'm interested to see what his staff looks like. But I think Josh Pastner is a really good basketball coach. I'm a good guy.
There's very few people that are universally loved around, coaching circles. Josh Pastner is one of those guys. So congratulations to him. I think there's one person on this panel that's universally loved by everybody who loves college basketball. It's John Fanta. In the coaching circles, it's Josh Pastner. So congratulations to him. Happy for him. And one of the good guys. So I'm happy. I think UNLV is a really intriguing job. They have the conference tournament in their home court every single year. I mean, that's a big advantage.
Hey,
you can win there. And players
we
like
gotta
going
add
there.
this to him. We got to add this to him. Hey, Josh, leave that damn minivan in Atlanta at home, man. Don't take that damn minivan to Vegas, man. Get you a sprinter van. Get you something. A sprinter van, bro. You got to do something. Like, don't take that damn white minivan. I'm slashing the tires.
That's going to do it for us here. Ben McCollum to Iowa. So we'll see what Drake does. Nico Medved, T.O., I know you love that. He goes to Minnesota. Big Ten coach, you got better. Where's Villanova going to go? That's all for later this week. For T.O., for our seniors, John Fanta saying so long. The afters are next.
I have been looking for the best deal on March Madness tickets, which is why I want to give the sponsor of today's show, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app with over 28 million downloads and more than 70,000 events available. Now that March Madness is here, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated so you know if it's a good deal with that little green dot, and it's backed by a buyer guarantee. You can get 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek with code FIELD-of-68. That's code FIELD-of-68. I want my home to feel like my home. So whether I'm looking for big furniture, just a small piece for my place, or maybe some storage solutions for the basement or the garage, the answer is Wayfair. Seriously, I needed a new patio set and fire pit for my backyard. I bought it on Wayfair. It looks great on our deck, and it gives me an excuse to fire up the smoker, invite some friends over, crack a couple beers. Just last week, I bought a new chair for my office, someplace comfortable to sit while the madness takes up the 4 screens in front of me. I got it on Wayfair, clicked a few buttons. A couple days later, it showed up at my front door. They even offered to help set it up for you. Digging through online stores can be intimidating. Trust me, I know. It can be hard to find what you're looking for in your price range, but not on Wayfair. They have great options, even if you are balling on a budget like me. Wayfair has every style for every home, including mine and yours. So head to wayfair.com and shop everything home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
We're live. It's the afters. Hit the chat.
I'm not getting close to any bear.
My career high on the court is 28. John Fanta, Terrence Oglesby, Randolph Childress with you. I want to give a big shout out to Pocket Watch and Wes Woolworth for the super chats. Super chats, Pocket Watch, Wes Woolworth, fellas. Thank you. Dagan Hughes, they gave us a lot of money. I hope that I want to shout them out. They chimed in, Dagan.
They did. They didn't ask any questions. Actually, Pocket Watch was just excited that you were on. So that's why all the money came in. So he just was excited that Fanta was back after the weekend. So we do want to give those guys a shout out. I guess I'll have to work that out with Jeff and Rob then. I mean, that's a couple of
Hey, Tio, we got to do better, man. Everybody likes John. We got to be nicer, man. Everybody doesn't like us like they like John. Everybody likes John, man. John's everybody's favorite.
Nice. I'm nice to no, thank you guys. Thank you. That's very nice. I am back after the weekend Sorry, I did not participate in the 26-hour marathon from Las Vegas.
Let's be honest, they probably started seeing Rob, Jeff, and John Martin.
It was a blast. Maybe they paid money because of Paris. Yes, if you can.
There's a lot less hair gel on this show right now than than everybody's had to deal with. It feels 68 last couple of days. It's a whole lot of wasted hair product in the last few days. They're Martin and Rob and Jeff fighting over it in the morning. T.O. and I done had these problems, and Fanta doesn't give a damn. He just wakes up and shakes it and rolls. So we're good here.
I wonder how everyone came out in Vegas. Yeah, I know Rob did not win money. I'm not sure if Rob's ever came out in the green in Las Vegas.
No.
John Martin.
I've never. Every time I talk to Rob, whenever he leaves somewhere where he could gamble, he blames somebody else for losing money. I've never heard Rob be like, I had a bad hit. No, it's somebody else's fault when Rob loses money.
Jeff won something early and he struggled. He got quiet on it, so I would imagine Jeff is probably in the red. He was up early. He claimed he had a good couple of days, the first 2-3 days, and after that it went downhill for him fast. He gave it back.
It's and we'll be in San Antonio next week, and we can't wait for our coverage from there, and we'll have coverage from the regionals this weekend. I love this upcoming weekend. But yeah, we talk about the coaches. I will say this, T.O. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I'm going to lay it out there to everybody watching. I don't give a damn about the transfer portal, man. I could care less.
None.
I'm not tracking the names. I see these things. I know that it's our job and whatnot. And, I'm following the coaches and whatnot. But I just – Terrence, for me, it's about the players in the tournament right now. That's what I care about. I don't know where you stand, but there were over 700 players who entered the portal today.
Yeah, I don't care at all. I'll start caring about that stuff. I usually start my homework for the following season about August 1. I could care less, really, because it's like you could have a great recruiting class and then stink up the season because they don't gel well together. At Exhibit A,
get it right.
Kansas. Yeah, you got to get it right.
They pay those guys to get it right. We're not paid to get it right. We just got to talk about it. So
yeah, exactly. I could be wrong, still get paid.
Right. We So the coaches need to be concerned about it. We'll just see if they get it right in the fall. it's about to get crazy for those guys. I couldn't imagine how the off season is with a lot of these jobs changing and still having to fill jobs. Like if you're Villanova right now, you got to get it done. You got to get that done, and everybody is trying to figure out their guy. You need to have this done in the next 48 hours, or you're screwing yourself. So West Virginia needs to get it done. There's so many rumors flying around with a couple of jobs there, but it's time to start getting it done because you can't get so far behind.
You know what's crazy is like the fact that the portal opens after the first weekend is comical. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Push it back 2 weeks. The guys are going to be in class anyway. Push it back 2 weeks. Give them a month to decide, or go get on with your life. Like,
They're not
it's gotten to
anyway.
a point where it's like, could you imagine in the NBA? Yeah,
They're
could you imagine the
5
NBA?
visits.
Yeah, like think about the NBA. You know, Jason Tatum arbitrary said like situation, like whatever. I'm just making something up here. But like Jason Tatum's playing for the Boston Celtics, and after the first round of the playoffs, he's negotiating his contract to go to Toronto. Like, what are we doing? Like, set it up to at least be fair. I know there's only 16 teams left, and it's a very minute percent of the population, but those are the guys paying the most money. Everybody's going to be waiting on them anyway. So, like, just I think it's crazy. It should happen after the Final Four, and I think you should even give it a week after the Final Four for the coaches to at least draw out a headache. You know, because it's a lot right now. It's a lot.
You know what I like when the transfer says "do not contact list." Oh, so how long have you had this in the works? Well, you just decided today
But it's that way with everybody, guys. Let's be honest. Like it's like these jobs behind the scene. Let's stop acting as if some of these jobs they're done. They're done in weeks ago. Like it's like Sean going to Texas. This is done, and I'm not saying it's wrong that it's done a while ago. This is done. I said that with Skeets. I mean with Keats getting out of NC State.
Skeets.
Yeah, well, Kevin Skeet is my guy at George Mason on their women's team. So we talked about.
Okay.
So I'm always I got to shout him out.
All right.
Skeet. But no, it's you talk about these situations and it's just common now, and I don't it's we can just move. I just think it's a mess, and I'm not surprised that coaches do it. It gets done early. Players are getting done. They don't need to take 10 visits. It's just hey, how much am I getting to go there? That's where I'm going. So it is what it is.
All right, Dagan, lay some questions on us.
Yeah, fellas, we got a lot of questions in here, so we're going to go kind of rapid fire if we can. Speed this up. Derby wants to know which regional will be the most competitive. I know we kind of already talked to this, but Derby wants to know.
BYU, Alabama, whatever regional that one's in.
That's the East. That's
the
East.
I think I go with the East.
Oh man, that's tough. I'm gonna go with. I don't think so because I think it's a Duke coronation.
I do too.
I'm gonna go with the Midwest. I think Kentucky Tennessee could just be an epic game where Kentucky's offense against Tennessee's defense, rubber match, not a rubber match, but a third meeting in which Tennessee's out for revenge. Big Blue Nation's going to go wild. And then how about Houston basically playing a road game, RC, at Lucas Oil Stadium? Like Houston, I think they're tough as nails, but Braden Smith's on the other side. And Purdue, guys, I got to see Purdue twice this past weekend in person. Matt Painter said, I don't know where we found it, but we found our defense. And RC, I couldn't believe Trey Kaufman ran in person. I was like, holy hell, this guy got 10 times better as a player and physically. So he's going to have to battle. I like Houston on paper, but man, you know what happens when you get a home crowd behind you. Anything can happen.
Yeah, that double team though, fans. I just don't like the matchup. He's not getting any one-on-one coverage. They're gonna trap his ass on the block every time he touches it. I would say the better question would be what 4 teams would you believe? I think I would go Florida, Texas
Maryland,
Tech, Arkansas, and Maryland. I think that foursome is just really, really talented. That would be probably even better question. I think Duke comes out. We talked about the number ones, but I like that bracket. I mean, I think it'd be some hell of a games this week, and the matchups are intriguing.
We haven't said a word about Ole Miss, TL, and that makes whenever we leave a team out, It feels like they're the ones who deliver, and Sean Padula's in his
I thought of
bag.
you, T.O., because you were on them early. I thought of you, I swear. As they were winning the Sweet 16, I thought of T.O. because I said, hey, people say what they want. My guy, T.O., I'm talking early in November. He called it out in November. So Chris Beard and Ole Miss owes my guy, T.O., a lot because you shot those guys out and you believed in them when there's not many people that I know had Ole Miss in this round.
Hey, I'll say this. John Fanta preseason predicted Ole Miss to get to the Final Four. So I was high on Ole Miss. I wasn't Final Four high on Ole Miss.
You wasn't that high.
But John Fanta had him predicted.
John Fanta was literally high when he made that pick in November. But
I've never been high in my life. But we are heading to the Riverwalk next week, and who knows what could happen. Go ahead, Dave.
I also believe Jeff Goodman had Ole Miss to the Final Four, so let's try to avoid that.
No way.
No, we looked it up this week.
There's no way.
Pretty sure he did.
He probably
that
had
was like
Jeff,
way
he probably
early.
had Beard going back to Texas or something. We didn't know these times.
All right. Andrew wants to know which team is most likely to pull off an upset in the Sweet 16, and upset is obviously maybe a stretch there.
Yeah, that's a relative term there. Maryland could do it, but outside of that, yeah. Would Arkansas be considered an upset as a 10 seed?
Yeah, they would be.
No, I'm not giving them that. It would be because they're 10 seed talent-wise. No.
Yeah.
If I had to say based upon talent, I would say Purdue beating Houston, in my opinion, would be the biggest upset.
Ooh.
I will say I think BYU can beat Alabama because of the high-octane offense, and BYU is an underdog. And if BYU won the game, I don't think any of us three would be surprised, but America would be surprised. Guys, big picture thing here, and I'm heading to Newark this week. I have not gotten a chance to spend any time with Kevin Young, so as you two are hoop heads, like you guys love doing games. I love whenever I sit down with a coach who I don't know a ton about necessarily, and we get to learn about him a little bit. Like the offensive design is NBA like, and it's easy to see why because he comes from the NBA bench. So between that and getting DeBonce, a lot of people are like, I don't know if DeBonce is going to work out next year. I don't know. Hey man, I think it's different than Rutgers. They got a lot of money. RC, they're going to put talent around him, and I think Kevin Young will run really good stuff for him. That could be scary.
I won't argue it. You know, they're fun to watch. Multiple handlers, multiple guys initiating offense. Big NIL. I mean, he's putting everyone on notice, and it would not surprise any of us, particularly with Grant Nelson looking compromised as well.
I think the fact that BYU puts so much pressure on the rim too, that's a fun offense, and they've got guys playing well at the right times. Right? Yeah, they play a lot. They play a lot of the same stuff. What I like about it too is with DeBance is he's going to be playing with older guys as well, just because you have the advantage of the church there at BYU. So it's going to be able to, guys are going off for 2 years, so you're going to have older players consistently, and like that's going to help AJ DeBanza. You know, they have a bunch of solid guys around him. I think that's really cool. What's up, Fanta? What'd I say?
The advantage of the church.
The advantage of the church.
It was a great.
It is. It's an advantage. They've always had old guys there.
They have, but now it feels like they. I mean,
their styles. Go ahead, Spencer.
No, Pope did a hell of a job, but like, you got to give Kevin Young a lot of credit. A lot of people were skeptical of that. Like that's man.
I agree.
Two similar styles.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Down. It definitely a game. I'm wondering what the line will be because you definitely want to take the over. They're going to get up and down. It'd be interesting to see who makes enough threes. I think BYU's a better 3-point shooting team. Alabama has the athleticism, but I mean more than BYU. But BYU has size and length as well. So it's going to be a fun matchup. That's the game that you want to sit down and definitely look upon that. That's going to be a high level played, a highly skilled basketball game.
Watch out for Trevin Nell. Watch out for Mawat Mag as a defender. By the way, shout out to BYU. I just pull up their game notes, which also shout out. They're already out on a Monday for a Sweet 16 game. The third bullet point is tater tots are better than cheese curds. BYU
Yeah, they
never
are.
trailed its 91-89
That's
win over
true.
Wisconsin. And it's win over Wisconsin. They went that route on the game notes. That's some good stuff there from the Cougars. All right, Dagan.
All right, fellas, 2 more for you guys. Megan wants to know, what does Texas Tech have to do to beat Arkansas?
Well, they got to guard dribble penetration. They have to cut off Arkansas's guards from getting to the lane if they're going to do it, and I think they can. I also think Adu Thero could play in this game. Now, what do we expect? He almost gave it a go this past Saturday, so that's something to monitor. But yeah, you got to defend the lane, make Arkansas shoot over you, and you better rebound. You can't let Jonas Adu go off. That kid went off on Kansas.
Since conference play started, Arkansas is shooting 30% from three. Make them shoot, cut off the lane. I'm with everything Fantha just said. He's absolutely right.
Yeah, it could be a close game. I don't think it'll be a great shooting game. I think even the same, you can say the same for Texas Tech. You can run their shooting off the line and force those guys to shoot over the length and athleticism on the front line of the Razorbacks, man. They're defending well. So I don't expect this to be like we talked about Alabama and BYU. This will be trending more in I think a low-scoring game. Should be a hell of a game, though.
Just telling you right now, if we get Texas Tech, Florida in a regional final, get ready for a war. It'll be nasty.
Yes.
It'll be a nasty game. It'll be a.
If I had to bet, that's who I'm betting. Yeah, that's who my final
Elite
eight.
That'd be a freaking great game. You want to talk about coaching minds? McCasland and Golden.
Yep. Man.
All right, Dagan, bring it down.
Our final question comes from our guy, David Bentley. He wants to know, we're going to get off the basketball route. We talked enough basketball for the last few weeks. He wants to know, there's this thing that comes after the national championship game on CBS, the Masters. If you guys all had to give a champions dinner at the Masters, what would it be? So I want appetizer, main, dessert. That's what I want.
I kind of like what Scheffler did. He turned a Augusta into a Ruby Tuesdays. I loved everything he did, man. It's unbelievable. Did you see this menu? Did you guys see this menu?
Very good.
I mean, incredible stuff. I had little burger sliders. That's what I would have. Just chicken wings and burger sliders. Just keep it real classy.
Okay.
That will be interesting. I don't know, Fanta, what you got?
We're gonna. I mean, I'm a steakhouse guy myself, so we're gonna go big or go home. So we're gonna come out with I want some of that like hardcore appetizer bacon. You know, when they just bring it out and it's like, it's the good stuff. It's like pork belly. We've got a wedge salad for the table. Give me some blue cheese. We got a nice big wedge salad for the table. We've got fresh loaves of bread. You can tell I put a lot of thought into this since David Bentley asked the question. We've got a raw bar going across the way. We've got seafood, all the fixins. And then you get to choose between a New York strip steak and a ribeye, and we are serving potatoes au gratin. We are serving cream spinach. We are serving some asparagus. And then to come out with it, we're going to do a brownie hot fudge sundae. Brownie hot fudge sundae, and I will eat none of it and then proceed to win the green jacket because everybody will be fat.
I like that. I'm a big fan of that. I like all of that, actually. That's really well done.
I'm gonna keep it simpler than that. For me, I'm going all seafood. Shout out to my guy David. I'm going all seafood. I'm gonna do, that would be more of what I'm leaning toward across the board. Take your pick.
I would go. I like that pork belly idea. I love good pork belly. It would probably be steak for me as well.
Or it's either that or I got my best friend on the grill cooking ribs and we straight barbecue on this whole thing. It's either gonna be all seafood or we grill. We got barbecue everything. You coming off there on the turn? On the turn, I got hot dogs on the grill. And then when you come off at the 18, we got ribs and everything else on all the sides.
Why don't you do a golf outing? It should be a Randolph Childress golf outing.
Hey, it might be. Let's do it.
I'm in. We need to feel
we got.
Hey, Dagan, don't tempt me. I've been trying for freaking 3 years. Nobody will freaking bite the bullet. I've been trying to do it for 3 years.
This year.
Right. Why don't you put that in the group chat tomorrow? The issue is the people that run the company do not know how to golf.
No.
So
I've been trying for guys.
That's
This
good
is
that you
honest to
wanna
God's
hang
truth.
out. We
I've been
gotta get
trying to
Rob
do
and
this
Jeff
golf
to talk.
tournament. I've been trying to do it for 3 years, Randolph. 3 years. I've been trying to get this thing together for 3 years, and
Goodman should have to caddy.
we just won't do it.
Goodman should have to carry the bag and walk the course.
Hey, I like the idea that we had when we talked about it a couple of years ago, and we got, we found it and let coaches win NIL money if their staff out at the Final Four. We should go to the Final Four, get it, and then have coaches and then raise enough money for it, and then that money goes to NIL and let the best staffers at programs play for it and go. I think that's what we ought to do.
All right, hold on, fellas. I got one more follow-up from the chat.
One more.
Wes says Field of 68 should start a steakhouse. Now, I'm not sure who he trusts to cook the steak at said steakhouse. So who are you guys trusting to cook that steak?
Ooh.
Oh, my God.
Is this when the thing comes up with Rob Doster using?
First of all,
Mayonnaise.
none of us are cooking it. Let's be clear. We could run it. None of us are cooking it. We
No.
taste it. We know good food. But I'm not trusting any of you guys over my medium rare filet or my bone and ribeye. Like, there's no way.
I threw some steaks on the grill last night. That picture looks horrible. Hold on.
Let me say this.
It looked like
if we did have a restaurant, my wife's probably running the ship there.
I agree with you. My wife can burn too. My wife can burn.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
So.
No, I mean, I don't trust Rob because he puts Hellman's mayonnaise in his freaking steak.
No.
Like,
Yeah, he does. Man, he told us that one time, and then he's been dying by this thing.
Jeff would like make a hockey puck, and John Martin would like warm up Chef Boyardee. So I don't trust any of them to make my meal. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah, Jeff would burn his steak so bad you'd be able to skip it across a lake.
Oh.
Like
on.
it can't go.
Texan,
I think Doster
Texan
grills
stuff.
a lot for what it's worth. Doster grills a lot.
If the
Maybe he
NCAA
can do the grill.
If the NCAA tournament opening weekend in Vegas was a person, it would be John Martin. All right, I'm done with my strays here on this list. I just couldn't help myself. I hope he won some money, for heaven's sake. I mean, I hope he bet Colorado State in the first round. I have a funny feeling he did not do that. That'll do it for us. We're back tomorrow at 11 o'clock. For Randolph Tibbs, for Terrence Oglesby, this is John Fanta. Thanks to Dagan Hughes and Trevor Valise.
Oh,
Sweet
man.
how sweet it is. We're on a